I spent hundreds of hours in the past few months trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. I built AI-generated apps, debugged errors, watched YouTube tutorials, and everything in between. In this video, I'm sharing with you everything I learned in my journey and my exact methodology to generate best results with AI. So you don't have to go through the process yourself and you can save hundreds of dollars in AI credits. And by the end of the video, you will have a functional framework you can use as a template for your next project and avoid all the problems most beginners run into when web coding for the first time. So let's start here. What is web coding? Most of people think of it as an AI app builder that generates an entire web application just from a text prompt. Let's take Lovable as an example. You type something like build me a QR code generator and the AI starts building it. At this point, it looks impressive. But here's what's really happening behind the scene. The AI isn't just writing code, it's also making decisions for you. It decides what features your app should have, how the UI should look like, which tech stack to use, how files are structured, and how logic is implemented. And none of these decisions came from you. Now, does the app usually work? Yes. But there are three big problems. First, the app is not usually what you had in mind, and that's simply because you weren't specific enough in your prompt. Second, everyone gets the same app. Think about it. Same prompt, same output, same product. So you don't really get to stand out. And finally, the most important one, the app is AI-led. The AI is leading the entire development and you're just reacting to the decision it's making. Here's the secret. You need to flip the model to a human-led, AI-assisted approach. After experimenting and failing hundreds of times, I consolidated all my learnings into an easy-to-follow methodology you can apply straight away in your next project. This methodology has four main parts: planning, building, testing and debugging, and finally deploying. We start with planning because this is where most mistakes happen. Planning starts with a PRD, a product requirement document, and this is no code. It's a written document that explains what the app is, what features it has, how these features work, and what rules the AI must follow. This document is what keeps the AI grounded. Now, for the purpose of this video, we will build a QR code generator. This is a simple tool for anyone to build, even people with little to none experience with AI and web coding. So I'll break down each step so you can follow along and learn in no time. So to start with, we need to define what a PRD for a QR code generator should look like. So starting with the features, we must define all features beforehand to set a clear direction of what we're building. Important tip here, make sure that ChatGPT or any other LLM model you decide to use for this project are involved in the entire thinking process, because we later use ChatGPT to generate the PRD, generate the prompt, and help us debug. So it needs full context. And here's what I do. First, I do a quick Google search to understand the QR code market and what existing solutions offer. This helps me understand what are some common features and pushes me to think outside of the box to come up with new feature ideas and help my product stand out. Second, I chat with ChatGPT. I ask questions like, what features do users usually expect? What could improve user experience? What should be optional versus required? Then, based on my research and ChatGPT responses, I list down the features I will implement in my app. And with the help of ChatGPT again, I go in to define how features relate to each other. When defining features, you can't just simply say a QR code generator feature. A feature needs to be specific and its description needs to have these 4 points. First, the purpose, so why does this feature exist? Second, its behavior, so what does it do? Third, user interaction, how do users interact with it? Fourth, data, what information needs to be stored. And finally, dependencies. What libraries does this feature need to work? Why do we go this deep for every single feature? Simply because if we don't provide all these points, we leave a gap for the AI to fill, and that's when things starts breaking down. So by defining all these 5 points up front, you're telling the AI exactly how to think, how to act, and what tools to use before it even starts writing a single line of code. Let's look at a real example. Let's take the QR code generator feature. So its purpose is to allow users to generate a static QR code from any valid URL instantly. Its behavior is, when a valid URL is entered, the app generates a QR code instantly. User interaction, user passes a URL into an input field and sees the QR code update live. It stores no data and then it uses the QR code styling library a native URL validation library. Let's do another example quickly so it's clear. So let's look at the export and download system feature. Its purpose is to allow users to export QR codes in multiple formats and sizes suitable for digital and print use. Its behavior, so export happens client size, selected size and formats are applied at download time. The way users interact with it is simply by selecting the file format in PNG or SVG or the size presets in pixel, and then user clicks download. It stores no data and its dependencies are the QR code styling, but this time we use the PNG SVG export and browser download APIs. So this is how you should define every feature in your project. Next, you need to think about your database strategy. Now, since this is a static QR code generator app and we don't allow users to save their QR codes, we won't need to store any data for this project. Now that said, I plan to cover database connections and setup in a separate video when building complex apps. So hit subscribe to get notified when the video is out. The next important thing to define is the user flow for the whole app. And this answers to one question: what happens from the moment the user lands on the app to the moment they leave? To make this crystal clear, I use UML diagrams. UML stands for Unified Modeling Language. It's a visual way to show how actions and features connect and is widely used in software engineering. There are different types of diagrams, so chat with ChatGPT to generate one that matches the feature requirement. This removes ambiguity for both humans and AI. Now it's time to define your tech stack. If you don't define it, the AI will guess it. So personally, I use Next.js, React with TypeScript, Shadcn UI, and Tailwind CSS. So you don't need to master deals, but having a minimal understanding would be good to understand the generated code better. I've added some resources in the description of the video, so make sure to check this out. Finally, it's now time to generate our PRD. Because ChatGPT was involved in the full thinking process, it now has full context. It has the product idea, the feature definitions, the user flow, and the tech stack. So I asked ChatGPT to generate the PRD without worrying about context gaps. Then I proofread it carefully. Never skip this step. You need to make sure that the PRD matches what you intend to build, so always double check the generated result. When it comes to building, most people fail because they try to build while they are still thinking. We've done the thinking in part 1, now building is just execution. So now it's time to set up your tooling and building environment. So based on experience, not all AI app can build all kind of tools. So that's why we define the AI Builder app after we define the PRD. So there are several AI tools that could build this QR code generator, such as Lovable.dev, Bolt.new, Base44, Emergent, V0, you name them. So for this video, I'll use Lovable.dev. We used it earlier in the video to generate scrappy QR code generator using an AI-led approach. Now let's see if it can generate a QR code generator using a human-led one. First, create a Lovable account if you don't have one already. I put the link below in the description. Next, we need a local environment to test our app on our local server. Local environment allows you to test your app and catch any errors before they go live, saving you hundreds in credits and headaches. Personally, I don't rely on Lovable's cloud environment for testing. What works in the cloud might not work on your local machine. So I use Antigravity. It's a local AI coding agent that lives on your computer. Think of it this way: Lovable gets your house standing, but Antigravity is what fixes the plumbing, paints the wall, and makes sure everything actually works. I already have Antigravity installed. If you don't, I put the link in the description for you to download it and create an account. Another tool in my arsenal is GitHub. GitHub is a version control platform. It saves every version of your code that you push to it and also help you transfer code between your tools safely. Create a GitHub account if you don't have one. Then connect Antigravity to GitHub. To build great apps, you must also ensure that your prompts are top level to maximize output quality. As such, I don't directly prompt inside Lovable. Instead, I use ChatGPT to generate a prompt in PTCF format. So PTCF stands for persona, task, context, and format. This gives the AI a strict blueprint to follow and significantly reduces hallucinations. Then I proofread the prompt carefully. Again, this is crucial to ensure that the prompt states exactly what you intend to build. With your prompt ready, you can now paste it into Lovable, attach our PRD, and let Lovable generate the app. Let's see the live preview. This is already very different from the very first example we saw at the beginning of the video. Before shipping it, however, we need to first test it thoroughly and make sure that it works as expected. So I start by testing it locally. First step is to connect Lovable to GitHub. Click the GitHub icon, authorize access, initialize the repository. Now our Lovable code lives inside GitHub. Now I can clone it to Antigravity. To do so, Copy the repo link, open Antigravity, click Clone Repository, paste the link, select the location on your laptop to store the folder. Now the code lives on our machine too, but it does not mean it will work straight away, and you'll see why shortly. You first need to optimize Antigravity within the project folder to optimize it for better responses. First, copy and paste your project PRD into Antigravity's global knowledge section. This gives Antigravity full context about what the app is, its feature, and how it's supposed to work. By doing so, you're telling Antigravity to use the PRD as the single source of truth. So before making any changes, it needs to review this document and make sure that all the changes it makes are aligned with the app's purpose and functionality. Next, we set up global rules for Antigravity to follow across the entire project. For example, do not change existing features unless explicitly asked. This step is extremely important. The AI tools can easily break working functionalities or change the entire app behavior when fixing bugs. These rules act as boundaries, reducing hallucination and preventing unwanted changes. To ensure your setup is correct, let's quickly review a couple of important files. This file lists all the libraries your app needs to run. Think of it like the ingredient list in a recipe. Each dependency is a pre-built, production-tested library written by experienced engineers, designed to solve a specific problem. So instead of rewriting complex logic from scratch, you can simply import it and build on top of it. When we run npm install, the computer reads this file and knows exactly which libraries and which versions to download, so everything works together. The git ignore file lists things GitHub should not upload. This usually includes node modules because it's very large and can be recreated, and configuration files with secret keys or passwords for security. At this point, it's time to install all the dependencies to ensure that our app can run smoothly. Open the terminal and run npm install. This installs all libraries specified in the package.json. Be careful here. If Node isn't installed on your laptop, you'll get an error. So if this happens, don't panic. Just ask ChatGPT how to install Node, and then once Node is installed, proceed with npm install again. Sometimes npm install fails because of version conflicts in package.json. So if ever this happens, don't worry. It's not a failure, it's a feedback loop. It simply means some packages just don't go well together. Simply copy the error into ChatGPT and follow the steps to fix it. Make sure to also read the errors. This is how you learn. And now finally, we can test our app. Simply type npm run dev in your terminal. Copy the local URL into your browser. And congrats, we've made it. Our app is running locally. If something breaks, don't worry, this happens all the time. Simply copy the error into ChatGPT and follow its guidance to fix the issue. If ever the fix is too complex and you don't feel confident doing it, ask Antigravity to do it. Just remember, you have limited free credits with Antigravity, so don't waste them on simple tasks you can do by yourself, and you'll also learn along the way. So if an error occurs, quit the terminal by clicking on it and using Ctrl+C. Then send the error to Antigravity. Review the plan, approve it, watch the walkthrough, test again, commit changes to GitHub with a clear message so when you go back to previous versions, you know exactly what you've changed. As a general rule of thumb, always push your local changes to GitHub before going back to Lovable to, make any global changes or add a new feature. Otherwise, you'll end up with version conflicts, and trust me, that's a nightmare to fix. With your app now running locally, all you have to do is test the app, fix issues, and repeat this entire process until you're happy with how the app works and no error remains. One last tip before we move on. Always ask Antigravity to audit the entire code base for potential hidden bugs or issues. This is extremely helpful, especially if you have no engineering background, because the AI can often spot issues in your code base that we can easily miss when manually testing. Congrats! Now we have an MVP. It works. It didn't cost us any money to build it, but here's the catch. It's not production ready yet. To make it production ready for deployment, we would still need to add user authentication, security, and a few other bits that deserve its own video, and I will cover this section in a future video. And that brings us to the end of this video. If the video was any helpful, make sure to give it a like and subscribe so you get notified when the next video is out on production readiness and deployment. And if you have any questions or any topic you would want me to cover, make sure to drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you in the next video. Thanks for watching!